Have you ever left a meeting wishing you'd said less, or walked away from an argument wishing you'd said nothing at all? In a world obsessed with expression, where tweets, hot takes, and constant chatter dominate, what if power doesn't belong to the loudest voice, but to the quietest one? Today we turn to Niccolo Machiavelli, often misunderstood as the master of manipulation, to explore an unexpected question. What can we learn from him about the power of silence and the art of speaking? Not just in politics, but in work, in daily life, and in the relationships that define us. This isn't about being fake or cold or calculating. It's about being deliberate. Because for Machiavelli, every word has weight and every silence has shape. Machiavelli's The Prince was never a guide to cruelty. It was a guide to survival, a mirror held up to power. He didn't say, be ruthless. He said, be seen as necessary. In his world, Renaissance Italy, full of betrayal, shifting alliances, and fragile loyalties, words could kill, and silence could save lives. He tells us rulers must be both lion and fox, strength and cunning. But cunning isn't about talking your way out of a trap. It's about not walking into one in the first place. That starts with listening. For Machiavelli, the wise leader observes more than he speaks. He lets others reveal themselves first. And when he does speak, it's intentional, timed, weighted. He writes, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But read between the lines, and you'll see, it is better to be respected than predictable. And silence keeps people guessing. Let's bring this into today's world. Your office, your Zoom meeting, your Slack chat. In the workplace, we're often told to speak up, but Machiavelli would challenge that. He'd ask, are you speaking to be heard or to be effective? Imagine a meeting where ideas are flying, people talking over each other. Now imagine the person who speaks only once, but lands the most decisive point. That's not just presence, that's power. Machiavelli teaches us to study the room. Who's leading? Who's following? Who's insecure? Who's bluffing? Silence helps you read dynamics before you act. It gives you leverage. And once you know the unspoken rules, you can bend them or break them when the timing serves you best. In negotiation, in leadership, in decision-making. Silence is not absence. It's preparation. It's discipline. In everyday life, we tend to overshare, believing vulnerability equals connection. And sometimes it does. But Machiavelli reminds us, not everyone is playing by the same rules. He writes often about appearances, how being seen as good is sometimes more useful than being good. What does that mean for daily speech? It means thinking twice before offering opinions too freely. It means asking questions instead of giving answers. It means observing who talks the most and who actually holds influence. A person who listens is often seen as wise. A person who speaks less is often remembered more. Machiavelli would say, don't let people know your full mind until you know theirs, not out of distrust, but out of self-respect. In a noisy world, restraint is magnetic. What about love, friendship, family? It might seem odd to bring Machiavelli into the heart. After all, he's not exactly the poster child for romance. But if you dig deeper, his principles apply. In relationships, silence isn't stonewalling. It can be respect. It can be presence. It can be space to listen. Machiavelli teaches us to think long-term. So before we speak, we ask, is this helping my cause or just feeding my ego? That doesn't mean withholding emotions. It means knowing the cost of every word. knowing that what's true isn't always what's needed in the moment. Sometimes silence says, I'm thinking. Sometimes it says, I care enough not to hurt you with my anger. Sometimes it just says, I'm here. And when you do speak, let it be like a prince delivering a decree, measured, firm, and impossible to ignore. So what would Machiavelli say to us today? He might say, speak less to protect your thoughts. Listen more to understand theirs. And when you speak, make it count. Because in a world that prizes performance, there's deep strength in restraint. And when silence becomes a choice, not a fear, not a habit, but a strategy, you begin to speak with real authority. So the next time you're in a meeting, a conflict, or a conversation that matters, don't rush to fill the space. Let the silence say what words can't. Then speak, not just to be heard, but to be remembered. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe for more on philosophy, strategy, and the hidden rules of influence. And drop a comment. When was silence your greatest strength? Thanks for watching, and remember, even Machiavelli knew, sometimes the wisest words are the ones left unsaid.